What's up, everybody? Welcome back to RacingNews.com. Welcome back to another one of our previews. All right, let's go back to Prairie Meadows. Let's go to race 7 on the card. It's the Iowa Derby, of course, going a mile and 16 for the 3-year-olds, $250,000 a purse. We've got a field of 7 as the Iowa Festival of Racing heats up this weekend. All right, let's put it up on the screen here. Let's get you a top pick, and let's analyze what we see here for this one. So like I said, field of 7 coming in, and it should be a good race here. We'll go through them one by one, and we'll start out with Authentic Gallop. Authentic Gallop, a horse that has been beaten, really actually just been crushed in his last 2 starts. He tried the Virginia Derby, got beat over 31 lengths to finish 7th, and then got beat over 15 lengths last time out in the Sir Barton at Pimlico to finish 5th. Yeah, it's just a horse that you just can't have a lot of interest in my opinion, in the spot. A better spot for him here. I don't really know, though, still what we're thinking. It's going to be very tough for this horse to get the job done. Of course, 3 races back, was able to win an allowance at Oaklawn. Did break the maiden at Oaklawn as well. So maybe the horse just kind of liked Oaklawn Park. His races outside of Oaklawn Park just have not been very good, really any of them. So hard for me to like him here. The horse had been working on the grass a little bit. Kind of thought maybe they were going to try that again, go back to the turf. The horse did run 2 races on the turf, including finishing 2nd on debut at Saratoga on the turf. So I thought, maybe they're going to go back to that. Doesn't look like it. Not here. So we'll see what happens. Maybe give him one more try here before trying something different. The number 2 is Big Truzz, and this horse has had a really good start to his career. Broke the maiden going 6.5 furlongs at Keeneland in what was just a really solid effort is what I would call it. Won by 4 lengths, just blew him away. And, had an X-out winner. The second place finisher did come back to win in the next start. So pretty darn good effort right there. Then ran an allowance on Kentucky Derby day, the race right after the Kentucky Derby, and was able to get 2nd in that one, beaten 2 1/4, but got beat by Patch Adams, a horse that was cutting back in distance, getting back to the distance that he liked. And, like I said, got beat by Patch Adams, but it was still a pretty good race for Big Truzz. He kind of, if you watch the race, he kind of ranges up right next to Patch Adams like he's going to go by him. And then Patch Adams finds another gear, and I thought ran just really, really well. So well that both these horses showed up next in the Woody Stevens going 7 furlongs at Saratoga. And Big Truzz ran well again. He got 3rd, beaten 5.5 this time, but he got a horrific trip, a much tougher trip than what he had gotten in his first 2 races, and was still able to get 3rd. The winner of that race was Patch Adams. So obviously now Patch Adams, who his name was kind of disgraced on the Kentucky Derby trail, he obviously kind of just wants to go one turn. And since he's cut back, he's 2 for 2. He's looked awesome. Now, Big Truzz, here's the question: 6.5, 6.5, and 7. That's the distance of the first 3 races. Can he stretch out? That's going to be the big key. We're stretching out to a mile 16th. It's a great spot to try it. I happen to think he's going to be able to do it. This horse is by Justify, a horse that obviously had no problem going long. I kind of thought they would stretch him out after his debut race. Obviously, they had kind of had a plan to the Woody Stevens, and honestly, the plan worked pretty well. This horse has ran 3 really good races. Like, if this was a 7 furlong race, I think he's a heavy favorite in here, right? But stretching out's going to be the big question. We'll see if he can do it. If he can, I think he's going to be awfully tough to beat in this spot. If he can't, well, he won't be, because he'll kind of stop after 7 furlongs and probably be easy to catch. But I kind of think he's going to stretch out pretty well. All right, let's keep going. The number 3, Itsmybirthday, is next. This horse coming off a 2nd place effort in the Texas Derby last time out. Ran pretty well in that one. 2 races back, was able to win an allowance at Lone Star by 7 lengths. So pretty good horse there at Lone Star, those 2 starts. Ran in the Fayette 3 races back at Keeneland and didn't do much running at all. Sunland Derby didn't do much running at all as well. So kind of regained the form here coming into this one. I think comes in with a chance. Those Lone Star races are kind of tough, right? Because you don't really think about them, because unless you're sitting there in the state of Texas right now, or you were in the state of Texas when the races happened, you can't watch them, you can't bet them. So they're kind of weird races, right? You don't hardly think about them, which is sad, because I used to really love to bet and watch Lone Star. So anyway, I think if you're looking for the upsetter, I think this one makes sense. Kind of got back into form, like I said, and maybe shows up here and can run a nice race. Obviously the race at Keeneland and the Sunland Derby were just not him. He's better than that. So we'll see if he can kind of hold it together. All right, this will be the interesting entry, the one that's going to take most of the money, I would imagine, and that's the number 4 Magnitude. I say this horse is interesting because last time out on the Risen Star, he ran a race that would have made him, the Kentucky Derby favorite or a big time contender. Just blew him away, triple-digit buyer, incredible effort, just dominates the race. The Risen Star had a lot of good horses in it, and this horse just dominated him, right? So the weird thing is, okay, triple-digit buyer and a dominant effort, that's great. There's no other race on this horse's fast performance that's even close to that. So you kind of have to decide, is he that kind of horse, or is he more like what we saw in the Lecomte, which was just average, what we saw in the Gun Runner, average, the Iroquois, just not good at all. So he was a very average horse until that effort. Now, can he repeat it? Well, he hasn't been to their track for almost 5 months by the time they run this race. That was back in February when he won the Risen Star. So I think there's major question marks if he can repeat that effort. Let's not forget he was 43-1 that day when he was able to win that race. And he was 43-1 for a reason. He just hadn't looked that good. So we'll see what he does. I think he deserves to be the favorite. I think he's going to take a lot of money, and I understand why, but can he repeat that effort? I am kind of skeptical coming into this race, but I'm skeptical of almost every horse in the race as well. So, there's a little bit to say about all of them being a little bit questionable. All right. Speaking of, let's go to the number 5, Mick Swagger. 2 races back, broke the maiden at Prairie Meadows, and then ran in the Prairie Mile and kind of dominated that effort at almost 7-1 to get the job done by 3 lengths. This is a horse that is coming along quite nicely, right? There's no doubt about it. Local trainer here and a local jockey as well. So the local hope, and I think has a chance here. Going to have to get better, going to have to improve, even though those 2 races were wins. Got to get better against better competition here. That's going to be the big question mark. But look, I think this is a horse that, if you want another one, you kind of want to play a longer shot. I think he does make a little bit of sense. He does have 2 wins here at the local strip, but like I said, got to get a little bit better. The horse that finished second to McSwagger was Mavarama, and this horse last time out in the Prairie Mile, like I said, was second. 2 races back, was able to get the job done and an allowance over this track. So another local that comes in with a little bit of a shot. Look, if you like the locals, or if you want to bet the locals, I would go the 5 over the 6. I think that, really doesn't need a lot of explanation. Last time they met, the 5 beat the 6 by 3. So, but look, another one that, makes a little bit of sense here, does have a local win over the track, which could be important sometimes. And then finally, the number 7 is Mr. Omaha, the Oklahoma bred, and he is pretty darn good Oklahoma bred. Matter of fact, when he runs in the state of Oklahoma, he's pretty damn tough to beat. He's won 5 straight races when he's against Oklahoma bred company, I should say. 3 wins at Remington Park, 2 wins at Will Rogers taking on Oklahoma breds. However, when he steps up into open company, he's only done it twice. Once was the Springboard Mile there at Remington Park, where he was beaten pretty soundly. And then he tried the Texas Derby where he was 4th, beaten 5 lengths. He ran well on that one. But again, if you're going to play a horse out of the Texas Derby, I think it's the 3 Itsmybirthday, who was second, only beating a length in that spot. I do really like Mr. Omaha as a horse. Remington Park just around the corner. Probably going to see this horse there. He's probably going to run well. He's probably going to run in those state bred races for 100,000 or so, and make the owners a good amount of money. I like him quite a bit. I just don't care for him in this race today. I think, there's probably horses that make more sense on paper. All right. So that is the field of 7. I really debated hard between 2 or 3 of these, actually. I kept rounding back to the number 2 Big Truzz. I know that Magnitude has got that buyer that is just massive, and he certainly can win. I just project Magnitude's going to be very low odds, and I'm going to take a shot to win on the number 2 Big Truzz. I'm excited to see this horse stretch out in distance. I think this horse has ran very well, even in his 2 losses. I think he just ran up against horses that are pretty darn good. Now, that could be the same exact story here. He runs a really good second, and Magnitude runs what he did in the Risen Star, and you go, well, Big Truzz ran well. Magnitude was just better. 100% acknowledge that could happen. I just want to take Big Truzz in this spot and maybe hope Magnitude is kind of more of the horse we saw before the Risen Star versus the horse that we saw at the Risen Star. The other thing, we haven't seen Magnitude since February. It was an injury that knocked him out of the races there for a while. Maybe he's not quite 100%. We'll just kind of see. But I'm going to go number 2, Big Truzz, to win this one. I think if anything, he's going to give Magnitude at least a test in this one. So Big Truzz on top for me. All right, guys, that'll do it for this preview of the Iowa Derby. Hit that like button if you like it. Hit subscribe. You really like it. Want to get alerted anytime we do videos like this. And most importantly, good luck if you're playing the Iowa Derby on Saturday.